Mic check one, mic check two, and I grab the microphone and do what I do. This is the Rodcast Podcast for that ass, and this is gonna be on YouTube. It's gonna be on iTunes. It's gonna be on any platform that you can get it on. I got my man BB. I got the Craze Co, and I got Willy, Mad Willy from Ballin on a Budget. Is that how you say the shit?
Balling on a big budget.
Because
mate.
I was trying to really figure out how to introduce a cat like you, man, because, you know, you like this international dude that goes to all of these skiing places, Aspen to Morocco, and you got all of these chicks with you. You got cars, yachts, and then you got tons of weed. You got Bob on your shit spelled wrong, backwards. You rolling up shit in Byron Bay, and you own farms of weed. Can I just go on, or is anybody else going to say some shit?
I just want to know what he does. Like, what do you do, bro? What do you class your?
Well, basically.
And speaking to the microphone.
Basically, it all started. I used to be a professional skier. Now that was a while ago.
Is that where we're gonna start this shit?
No, we can. We're gonna start after we blaze, or we're gonna just keep talking.
Keep talking.
So basically, I used to be a freeride skier. I traveled around the world, had a bunch of sponsors, got paid to film in movies and do the occasional competition. And over that time, I started smoking a lot of pot, and over time, I was, the way that I sponsors would give me money to travel, but I needed, when I was living there, I had to, be able to pay for things. So, I was on the block slanging weed from the age of like 16, and not, I still remember the first fucking QP I ever bought when I was like 16 years old. I went down to Vancouver from Whistler, and it was one of the most amazing days of my entire life. Shout out to British Columbia, a very, very amazing place that I've spent a lot of time at during my youth. And
see, I thought you was this international playboy.
Well, that's now. That was before. So skiing was before, and then slowly but surely.
But did you win a medal?
No. I smoked my medal. That's what I did.
Mama, I smoked the medal. Huh?
So you still came home with the torch.
We'll have to try it again. We'll give it another go. We'll save that for later. Whatever. That was a shit attempt.
Was it?
No.
Did you like it?
So you went from skiing, transitioned into... So balling on a budget is, from what I've seen...
What is balling on a budget?
This is
What the hell is balling on a budget?
Balling on a Budget is basically an online portal. It's an online platform that's about action sports, girls, gadgets, and cannabis culture. And basically, we with the Craze Co, and we run around the world creating content about athletes and interviews, and we do lots of shoots with models and yada yada yada. And originally, what it started was
you can cut them the fuck off too, because if you want to say something.
I guess the best way to summarize it would be like a lifestyle blog. So just anything we deem to be cool as our own curators of culture. That's just what we put on and feature.
Because you were young, dude. How old are you? About 12? How old are you?
When we now?
No.
Yeah,
he's young.
12.
And you 58,
33.
right? Right? And so but all of these, I'm going to your website, and I'm seeing all of these beautiful women and graffiti and art and shit. Who's the brainchild? You're the brainchild behind this.
Basically, yeah. And so it all originally started. I used to run a men's magazine probably about 9 years ago. Fuck, time goes quickly.
Which one?
And it was called Apollo. We were the largest independent men's magazine in Australia, and
Apollo.
we started that.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I started that with a doctor friend of mine, and I actually met him through the Style Life forums, which is like pickup stuff, and Neil
Picking
Strauss,
up chicks? Or?
Yeah, Neil Strauss wrote a book called The Game in I think like 2006 or something like that, and he had like an online forum where you could go and meet like wingmen that you could hang out with, and then go and learn, picking up women.
Artistry.
So I met PUA, basically, yes.
Right.
And so I met this doctor guy, and at the time I was dating this porn star that I'd met in Canada, and she did a shoot for Playboy, and she got us tickets to the Playboy Mansion, and we went to the Midsummer Night's Dream party at the Playboy Mansion. And your friend Santi, we ended up writing an article for Ralph. It was like a 4 or 5 page article about Ralph readers go to the Playboy Mansion. We hung out with
Do I need to say who Santi is in there?
No, we've had him on.
Santi, shout out to Santi. Santi's the editor of Maxim and formerly.
All right, because like
editor
people
of
that
Ralph.
don't know, is listening and shit, it's like, who the fuck is Santi?
So basically, we ended up starting a magazine because they offered him like a writing role, and then we just ended up doing that. And we got to about 20,000 issues quarterly. We did that for about 2 years. We probably did that at the wrong time because magazines were dying, but it opened the door for pretty much everything that I do now. You know, it got me. Got to interview Snoop Dogg and the Mythbuster guys, and got to go to the
Mythbuster. Hang on,
Arias.
you interviewed the Mythbuster guys.
Yeah,
Take a fucking step back.
that
You
was pretty-
interviewed Snoop Dogg.
Okay, I was gonna say we might have to have a Snoop segment in this bitch, right?
We'll throw Snoop in, but the Mythbusters guys. Fucking, how
well,
did
it's
that
just-
come
it was
about?
only-
That's
Because
how
you just
Will
went
got the mo.
from Playboy to Mythbusters.
Well,
like,
that was kind of like when you got with a magazine, because it's a tangible product. You got a lot of clout with that.
Yeah.
So we used certain outlets that we paid for, and we got access to stuff that you normally wouldn't get. And that was a really interesting experience. It taught me about deadlines and about you know, like numbers and about lead times, and you know, magazines. it's a hard business, and it encompasses everything. It encompasses sales, it encompasses distribution, it encompasses, you know, advertising and content, and it
Fuck
really,
all that. But are you getting laid? I mean, what's the action like? What the fuck is really going on?
At the beginning, I was dating a porn star at the beginning of that. So
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He said he went from all of that other shit from the porn star. He just left it.
And then no, I did leave it. I just continued on, and basically after that, that kind of went to shit. And my friend got his little model girlfriend that he wanted, and you know, he had a falling out with my other photographer friend that I ended up working with for a lot of years after that. And then I just decided one day, probably inspired by Kanye's original.
You hit your man, girl.
Original blog.
Yeah, did you hit it? Is that why y'all broke up? Because you was hitting
No.
his joint?
Well, actually, what happened was the photographer was fucking this chick, and then
I just wanted to know if you the type of motherfucker that bang his
she
chick.
actually put. No, I would never do that. I'm not like that. I'm an opportunist in that kind of regard. There's enough fish in the sea to not fuck your friends' exes, current girlfriends, or sisters. That's just.
No, I think you might have done it. We'll talk about that in another episode.
And anyway, so he ended up taking the girl off the photographer, and then that kind of went to shit, yada, yada, yada. And then fast forward, launched Ballin on a Budget, kind of inspired by the kind of early 2000s Kanye West blog, Shock Mansion, High Snobiety. Hypebeast was a really big one. And back in the day, Hypebeast used to have this thing where they had all these different really amazing people that had blogs on their website, and they hosted it, and all the
is this Instagram?
No, this is before Instagram. This is like
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s. So Hypebeast kind of thing. You know, A-Track had a blog on there. I think who else had a blog? What's the guy's name? It's on the tip. Anyway, all sorts of people really Carrie cassette player who's like a really famous like costume designer for Lady Gaga, and just Edson Chen, I think and who's like the guy who owns Clot, who used to be like the Justin Timberlake of China. All these different cats had their blogs on there, and it just kind of was like that's a really cool idea. So I ended up starting that. It got pretty big. I got just on 1 million fans. And we had massive distribution.
A million fans in the early 2000s.
No, this is last year. I built it up over the last 8 or 9
cool.
years. Oh no, 7 years. Sorry, 8 years. Time goes quickly.
This is 2019. That's 20 years.
So we
Ain't it?
Because I'm trying to follow the dates and go, wait,
we start. No, that was. I was inspired by that. So we started the magazine in 2010.
Okay.
And I started Ballin on a Budget in 2011.
I get you.
But I watched all of that kind of evolve, and then I just saw.
It gave you the inspiration and thought, fuck it, now's the time.
And
I get you.
We did it. We got it pretty big, and then I had 1 million fans, and then last year I had a few different copyright. You know, kind of incidents, and then I had a couple of incidents with posting marijuana content.
What from who?
From
everybody.
From everybody.
So you're not allowed to do like pay-per-click ads or anything like that. So Google AdWords will ban your accounts if you're consistently promoting weed content.
Through Google or through anything else?
Yeah, well that's Google.
Pretty much through
Google Ads. Then you've also got the same issue with Instagram and Facebook. So they're both owned by Facebook, and through your Facebook ads accounts, and so they'll all get shut down.
Is that because of the country, the law, or is that because of the way they do things?
It's their policies. So whether that's influenced by the law or by their own standpoints, it's a policy that they've set.
It's a huge
and
problem
so
in the cannabis industry.
But it also opens a lot of doors for us. So we do a lot of marketing and other forms of activations and promotions and stuff like that. And given that they're limited with the avenues they can take for spending marketing budgets, that opens more doors for us to do more creative things.
Yeah, you got to fucking dance around it a little bit. You can't just go straight to it.
Right, that's what I'm. So Craze Co's dancing around from country to country, getting it in, getting the word out.
Yeah, just having fun, finding people with like-minded brands and commerce side of things, so that we can sustain ourselves while we're doing it. Just try to have fun. So
the laws here in Australia are starting to change a little bit towards cannabis, right?
Yeah.
Marijuana and the use of the product that comes from hemp. I don't know. There's the distinctions
it's almost like the way I'm seeing it play out. It's like a fucking turtle race. It's taking forever. It's almost like the rest of the world's like, yeah, cool, it's just a plant. And Australia's like, no, you're allowed to smoke tobacco, but weed, stay away from that.
Yeah, because Biden just in the States, he's running for office there, or orifice, one of the two of them candidates over there nowadays. You never know what they're running for. Yeah. But, apparently he's just come out and said that he's from his generation. What is he, 80, 90 years old and shit, and he wants to say no to cannabis. So, and then you got Trump talking about the vape thing is not a good thing, and they got cannabis in that too. So y'all up against shit.
Because they were putting fake synthetic stuff in the vape juice, so that they weren't producing the product to the proper level. And that was what was causing a lot of those problems. And that's the problem you have when you keep the industry underground, is that you don't have any form of education, you don't have any form of regulation, and you don't have quality control, basically.
The one thing that, like, I always go back and think, it's a fucking plant at the end of the day, right? We're talking about a plant. We're talking about the sister of parsley here. You know, we're talking about a plant.
Yeah, Mother Nature.
If somebody decides, it shouldn't be a question about whether somebody can make money off it, right? It should be, it's a fucking plant at the end of the day. It's
like tomatoes.
Exactly. You're going to go to a farmer and say, mate, no, sorry, you can't turn that tomato into tomato juice because you can't do it. Like, it's a plant at the end of the day, and people, it needs to be realised in that nature rather than criticised as a drug for how they're putting it. Because you look at this shit, right?
That's exactly right. When you compare it to
alcohol, no. But it says, what does it say?
Smoking
kills on the packet, right? There's a toe tag, a picture of a fucking toe tag on there, right? They go to the extremity of the longest lengths to make sure that they know that it's going to kill you, but yet they tax it double what it's four times what it's worth, and they still do nothing about it, and they keep upping the taxes on it because people keep buying it because it pumps the economy. So if the vaping's such a fucking problem, and they want to ban cigarettes too because they're killing people just as bad as vaping is. That's really like, again, I know it's there's more to the vaping, but like it gets frustrating when you're when that's in front of you, and you can't smoke a plant that just grows naturally. It's
forgetting about the health, whether it's a positive or a negative on your own physical health. I guess they're more looking at how it impacts on the rest of society. Now, when you compare it to something more like alcohol, which is also a mind-altering substance, then how can you really have a fair fight on your hands if 100%. They're saying that one of them's okay and the other one's not?
Yeah, 100%.
So what kind of work are you doing in the industry to try to change that thought process?
Well, over the last, 4 years now, we've done 4 different kind of publicity stunts on 420. 420 is like World Weed Day.
The 420.
The 420, that's why in a lot of different movies you see the 420 clocks and yada, yada, yada. And that actually started at Berkeley University, from what I've been told, back in the 60s. And that was, they'd all finished school at, obviously it's a notorious hippie school. That's kind of where the hippie movement started.
Berkeley, California.
Yeah. And then after school, they'd all finish uni at like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and everybody had smoke at 4:20. And that kind of became the staple, the beginning of that whole...
The 420 numbers became associated with cannabis culture and just, cannabis culture in general. And then so with those numbers, the date resonated with April 20th. And that became the
official
National Protest Day, I guess.
Around the world.
Yeah. Where lots of people just, it resonated with people given the numbers and the relevance with cannabis culture. So people all around the world on their own merit just started protesting to change the laws and whatnot within their own local community. The rest of the world seen great progress, and Australia is still far behind.
Yeah, because look, it's a choice, right? At the end of the day, like alcohol is, like tobacco is. It's a choice. You know, it shouldn't be.
What you do in your own house, in your own domicile, is your own.
Exactly.
business.
If people are fucking goats, the government aren't doing shit.
But from what I've been told, after all the kind of random people I have conversations with, so apparently one of the main reasons that federally Australia will probably never get legalized is the fact that we have a mandate with the UN that basically allows us to grow I think it's over 50% of the world's opium.
Wow.
So
and that's going on now.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it's down in Tasmania.
That's legal, 100%. Google it.
Poppy farms in Tasmania.
Yeah, in Tasmania. So if you're a politician and you have all of these, voters, they're not going to be for that. You know what I mean? So there's a grander agenda than just people smoking a plant. It's especially in Australia. America's a little bit different.
Have you seen these poppy fields?
Is
there pictures out there?
Did you say to Tasmania?
You're trying to Google it. I didn't know that was popping off in this country like that.
Yeah. If that's pretty crazy. If that's
so, that's what it is. So
wow.
that's the reason. So basically, over the last 4 years, we've done these different publicity stunts. Mm-hmm. The first year we did something random that's kind of not really worth mentioning. It was fun.
He laughed.
He's laughing. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's go. We did a music video with Hijack, and
shout out to Hijack.
Hijack is a rapper here in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aussie pop artist.
Okay.
So we made a flag that was about 10 meters long, I think.
A flag.
About the length of two cars, and it said "Happy Birthday Weed." So it's just a real big flag, like a banner. We got some wedding balloons that were about 1 meter in diameter. So we
huge balloons.
Heap of them, and just.
And then we flew it up into the sky,
a
few hundred feet.
Kept it anchored, so that was only about 300 meters up, and basically just held it there like a big kite with the balloons flying it just off Parramatta Road.
You guys are fucking
celebration.
I wish I saw that, because if I was driving,
it's on YouTube. You can bring it up. Fuck. Anyone else want to check it out? It's the Craze Co on YouTube.
I'm gonna have a look.
And then
I'm still trying to find the poppy thing, but.
And then after that, the next year we set up
Next year we started making fake plants. So
fake
we made
plants.
I saw that.
Prop cannabis.
Yeah,
plants.
Martin Place. I saw that.
That was this year. So we went back and we decided. We kept talking about the idea of what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And we kind of came up with the idea of making these fake plants and putting them everywhere, right?
Right.
And then
he was
like,
after we made them, we're like, these are such good pieces of art, and took us so long and all that. We didn't exactly want to part with them and leave them in the street for everyone else to get.
Yeah.
So we decided to lease a shop, and we leased one right next to the big billboard in King's Cross.
Big
William Street.
William Street.
Yep.
It's on the news.
We leased that for just 2 weeks, so from April 20th till the end of April. Told the real estate agent that we were going to just put an art installation inside there. Paid the lease, sorted it out. We didn't plan to have it open. It was by appointment only.
Right.
So we set it up on April 19th. We finished setting up and headed back to. We all had our own jobs and other stuff to do the next day, so we head off. I get a phone call the next morning,
he's
panicking. As soon as
panicking.
the sun had come up, and old mate's like, "There's cops in the media and shit here," so we fucking. I bailed down.
Wait, was he there?
Nah, Will was at heading to another job, and so
I had to go to my other.
So they rocked up at the place.
Yeah. My mate was just walking to work and walked past it, and he saw all the commotions going on. He's like, probably going to want to get down here. So I head down, and I saw all the media crews there and the cops, and I was like, well, it's not long before they're going to want us there. I saw the real estate agent there, and then get a phone call from the police, and they asked us to come and attend, saying they needed a key holder. And I asked if they could call the real estate agent, given I'd just seen him there. And they told me that he was unavailable, so they were insisting on us coming down.
On you guys.
Yeah, I asked Will to head down, but he was stuck at the other job, so me hyperventilating and all that shit.
Yeah, he calls me freaking out, and I'm like, calm down, you got this, man. And he did a pretty good job.
Oh, so you didn't rock up?
Well, no, I set up. I had to go.
I
was working on the TV show that I'm. Anyways, I was working on. I had to work that day.
So when you rocked up there, what did they do?
They asked me to open up so that the police
to see what's in there. They look like weed in there.
Yeah, all the media crews were filming.
So
it looked like a full-on hydroponic grow.
Yeah,
it was full legit. Had we been hanging lights and fucking fans. It was fucking amazing.
Okay, all right. So you were full-on growing shit right there for the public to see.
Growing fake plants.
Going into 420. right? And then the cops and the politician came through and asked you
art,
to
and we got on,
see what your art
so
is doing.
there was like 4 or 5 news crews there. We ended up getting on Channel 10, and we got. You should watch the video. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, but what did they do? Did they go in, bum rush the show, and tear the plants down and kick out the machines?
They fingered all the plants, making
They
sure
fingered them.
They were fingering
Finger
the
bang
bucket.
bang, finger bang.
No spit.
So
they
the
just
cops
went
came
dry.
in and fingered your
Wow.
hemp,
Yeah.
Straight dry.
right?
Hey, legit, but they're good. They're good fakes.
And
Yeah,
then
well,
good
so
fakes.
since then, those fakes have been used in lots and lots of TV productions. We've just sold a heap to production companies over in America.
Yeah.
So now they've made it onto Hollywood movies.
No
and
way.
whatnot.
Fuck.
Yeah, so
How good's that?
They're using them in props. And quite often,
That's
if you're
good, yeah.
filming over a long period of
I
time,
swear
you need
that's-
to get similar
This
shots.
is the journey he's been on.
That's good,
Do you know
man.
what I mean? Like the weird. I've gone on
'cause-
my journey, and
And
Look,
so
in all
what was the
serious-
last shit you did? What was the last thing you did?
so then
Well, then the year
was
after that-
that was two
3
years ago. Yeah, so last year we did this. The original idea was we teamed up with the Hemp Health and Innovation Expo, with shout out to Michelle and they're great people to work with, and they gave us quite a little bit of money, and we went and we made almost 100 plants.
Yeah, so we made some bigger plants and a lot more of them, and then that year we did put them everywhere instead of keeping them
Were
confined
they at
to
the expo?
shop.
Because I was at the expo this year. I think I saw
So
some.
the expo often have real live plant
yeah,
displays.
that's right, in the
but
tent. Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
they can't get the permits, for instance, the last show in Brisbane, they couldn't get transport and display permits to
Yeah.
display.
Oh, I went to one in Sydney.
Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
same one we're talking about.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so the plants that you would have seen in Sydney, they were actually banned from being displayed in Brisbane. They couldn't get
Okay.
the transport and display permits to have them on public display.
Just the fake plants.
No, the real
they're
plants.
real.
Okay.
So we would
But
have
they,
Real
are
hemp.
they like really low?
But they're
are they
hemp plant- they're
Or
hemp
hemp?
plants. They're not-
So you couldn't
and-
transport it over the state
They're not
lines.
flowering.
No,
So-
there's even ones that are under permit to be grown in Queensland, so they were local ones that could have been brought out. It's just a matter of having them on display. So when they're granting permits for these fields to start grow, when the fields are applying for the permits, there's certain things that the government's taking into account before granting them. So for example, if you have your own farm and you want to start growing hemp and join the legal side of things and do things the right way, one of the stipulations that I know of is that you can't grow any crops that are within public site. So if your property is in public site, you'll either have to build a shrub fence or something like that to
You gotta hide it.
block the vision, basically. Yeah, and that's just one way to control the black market, I guess, from interfering with the white market.
Right.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
So,
I can see. Okay, you're right.
No. Are you cats getting licenses and?
Not yet. That's in the future. In the future plans, we'll get to that.
We like to stick
So-
to what we know. So
Yeah.
we know a heap of people that have their own licenses and already have the permits and their stuff going.
So
And
you know cats that got them.
yeah, and we help them with what we know in the marketing sense and with the creative sense or promotion.
But
or
the
creative
Australian
artworks
market's
and-
still
So
a
when you-
long way back.
Yeah, because you can't really go like I was saying before. You can't be like, oh yeah, he's pot buy it. You
There's
can't.
less
It's
than-
very.
There's less than 5,000 people that are on the medical for the whole country. So how much? So if you're growing
So how do you get on
X
the medical?
amount of pot, these people are only going to come and back and buy their medical scripts from it's a bit-
you
it's a
get
bit-
referrals to clinics and there are avenues you can take.
Like similar to the US, right?
Pardon?
Like the US.
Oh,
similar,
not
yeah.
as close or not as full on, but there are clinics here in Sydney that people can go and visit. But one of the big problems is even after you are granted it and you've gone through all the loopholes that you need to, it's still quite expensive to buy government weed.
So what's the price like?
I don't know pricing.
about
and
for
a lot
100
it would
mils
be
of
extracts
CBD. It's
rather
about
than-
200 and it's like over. I think it's almost 200, if not more than 200.
For how
bucks
many? How many?
For 100 milliliters of CBD oil.
How much is it? 250. $250.
$200
Wow.
Yeah, about that.
for
100
CBD oil.
Again, this is just I'm
Guesstimating.
But it
guesstimating.
sounds about right if it's Australian
Yeah.
government taxing the shit out of everything. So
This becomes another medication.
Of
But
course.
I think that a lot. The problem, the biggest problem is that I think that the laws actually with the medical. From what I gather, one of my friends got it for, he got it for having what's the word that starts with A and you get
aneurysms,
nervous.
anxiety.
Anxiety, sorry. You have that word on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah.
Anyways, one of my friends got it for anxiety because originally in New South Wales you had to be terminally ill to be able to get a license. And then I think that they changed that. And then, so from what I gather, one of the other filmers that works with us, shout out to Grant. He's on the medical system for anxiety, and his doctor said he's one of the first people that he'd heard of that was on for anxiety. So
getting the permission to go buy weed.
You can and you can carry it with you, and you can, if the cops pull you over, they can't fuck with you. But the problem is
bud or extracts.
Both, but more so the drop, like the tinctures, right? They take the full spectrum THC tinctures, right?
Yeah, rather than smoking.
Yeah, because it's for your hunger or it's for mellow. It's not smoking, right? So the biggest problems that I've heard of, and again, I'm not an expert on this subject, but we do.
Well, we put your ass on as an expert.
Well, we know our shit, but we're not fucking the scientists and yada yada yada. But from what I gather, the problem at the moment is that a lot of the doctors don't want to be known as the pot doctor, so they don't want to prescribe it and be stigmatized because grandma who comes in 3 times a year for her checkups might get offended by the Cannabis Association, and then he loses a family, and that's
not only that. Speaking from 100% personal experience, these doctors are getting flown out to big pharma conferences and expos and stuff where they're basically just getting their pockets greased, and that's a big Christmas bonus that they're giving up. Should they start supporting something that's I guess more herbal, or what do they call it?
Mate,
more hippie.
The pharma industry is like that in the whole world. It sort of controls
lobbyists.
Well, that's it. A lot of Aussie doctors are getting flown over to these conferences or to these expos where they're meant to be learning new skills or anything like that. And it's basically just a big party for them. And
that's how the world works, man. Money talks, money talks.
Bonus. Money makes the world go round.
And that's the problem. But, if the government was smart, like I visited Colorado last year, and I did a little bit of touring through, traveling through America, and visiting Colorado in Denver. Very, very clean city. They got hybrid buses in the middle of the city. They
used to be a ghetto as fuck.
Yeah, but you can see the ghetto of it when you go out of Denver. As soon as you go out, it's just lined with homeless people. It's a real ghetto.
Yeah, Denver's a gutter city, man.
Mate, in the middle, it's beautiful. It's in the city. The hub's amazing. It was my wife, mate, walked around. It was fine. It was beautiful. But seeing how clean it was, and then seeing how they've generated $1 billion in revenue through the cannabis. If you were any other country sitting back thinking, how do we get ourselves out of a bit of a hole? Because let's be honest, right? Not just New South Wales, but Australia's in a bit of a hole. New South Wales in quite a big one. Mate, that's a money maker right there. 100%. In so many areas, it is stupid not to even fucking... They should be jumping at it with everything.
Australia has the potential to be the leading country. It could be the paradise of the world if we had a progressive government. But they're all lackeys, and a lot of... They don't have any political backbone when they don't have any...
Mate, you're talking about politicians here,
Totally, but I don't know. Like
the backbone, I don't think it really exists.
At least, you go back to Hawke or whatever, even Keating. At least they had a little bit of a backbone,
bit of ticker,
just a little bit. I know. A little bit of hustle, just a little bit of fucking.
So what do you?
I get it. Yeah, I know.
What do you do about it? Well, we've been doing these protests, and then this year we built a 24, 25 foot.
Joint.
Fake marijuana plant.
Yes, and we put it down in Martin Place where they put the Christmas tree. Yeah. So it's pretty much like the community Christmas tree that they put up every year.
How did that go down? Did you have little elves high as shit?
But yeah, we had our minions.
We had Beto in a suit.
Yeah, no, we had a good team on that actually. We had Crisp, we had Miguel.
Beto and Lloyd.
Yeah, they were a heap of cool people. Basically, we set up a two-story tall plant. Set it up in the spot where they.
Wait, how'd you set it up? Did you build it from scratch?
We built it. Yeah. It took about
2 months.
2 months of stoner time. So,
stoner time.
We fuck around and we're all,
we were in the studio for a very long time.
Yeah, it took a long time because we'd never done it before. We had to figure it out. But shout outs to our homie Chris. He was really helpful and he let us use the studio.
How stoned do you have to be in stoner time to is there a stoner meter or something?
No, we just
stoned by the hour.
A regular level of high.
Yeah, and, we get it done.
But you get it done. It took you 6 months to grow this fucker.
No, 2 months.
2 months. 2 months.
Yeah.
How many leaves is on it?
About 8
I'm
leaves,
trying to see how stoned you were.
I had about 8 leaves.
We had to build the stalk from. We had to build the stalk from scratch, and we had to figure out how we could place it. We had to build we built a what are they called? The fucking where you put the plant in.
So the planter
Pot.
box was a steel
Pot.
frame.
The pot.
That was about
How ironic. So stupid.
It is
Lost
like-
for words.
Right,
today.
he's like, what is it? Fuck pot. Yeah.
We built the planter box, which was basically a steel frame that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
2.4 meters tall on its own. So basically, we had to work out how we're going to build this thing where it's going to be safe, so that there's no pieces falling off and flying around.
Yeah.
We had to be able to transport it and set it up in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And so there were all these factors we had to take into account. We ended up getting it done. We booked a tilt tray driver to help us out in the morning. So we towed this thing into the middle of the city. We had our team unload it and set it up. Had it set up in under 20 minutes, I guess, and then we spent another half an hour or so.
So all of this shit takes a team. So you must have a squad of dudes that's out here on the weed tip.
Yeah, we
no
got
way
some,
we could
we
do
got
this
some
stuff
good
on our
homies. We
own.
couldn't do it by ourselves. No way.
Yeah.
We got
So
good
you got
homies.
a machine out there that's out there ready to go at a moment's notice. Y'all got a squad, a clique.
Yeah, we're guns
Ready to
fire,
rock,
We need a little bit of
and,
notice because we need a little bit of notice.
No,
We're
but
not-
quite often, quite often customers are ringing us up with no time spare, and we're pulling fucking rabbits out of our hat, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got team all over Australia ready to get shit done.
That's cool. That's really cool. So have you seen any benefit out of this? Like through
I
as
think
your
we've
message?
gotten a lot of people talking.
That's good.
I think
So
that we,
us along
very
with a lot of other people, such as the Nimbin Hemp Embassy,
that's
and
good.
Jenny
party
that just got
Jenny
off.
Hallam.
Yeah.
There's loads of people that are all
Max
fighting the
Stone,
same
y'all
fight
Max
here in
Stone,
Australia.
yeah, we fucks with Max Stone.
So Max Stone is
Max
He's
Stone's
a
the homie.
cool dude.
He's a
a
dude from
homie.
Nimbin?
He's
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
Nimbin.
yeah. Oh, Max is cool. Yeah.
So he runs on his own terms, but he's down with the embassy and with
Right.
the party.
Yeah.
He's a funny dude, man.
He
And
is,
so
man.
basically, everyone combined are definitely making waves and definitely making moves and getting people talking and having the subject known and also.
So how do we
educating
amplify it?
people.
How do we amplify
We
it?
just keep doing what we're doing. It's growing. So the more, the quicker people jump on board, the quicker
gotta
other
go
people.
after
But
the
you
money.
creeping. You also, you
gotta
going
talk
after the
about
money.
the money.
But you're
That's
creeping
how-
into
that's how you change it.
different ways of getting that message
Yeah.
across. Now you got the girls and you got the balling on the budget and stuff.
Totally.
But you also have the weed message in that too, don't you?
Yeah, we have.
So tell me more about how you've moved high into high fashion and to, I won't call them hoes, but how did you put it all together?
we just
High life
kind
in
of
general.
high life.
Just a high life.
just
Is
a
that
high
how it
life.
goes? Because I want to know what it takes to be
Well, it already
making lots of money to be
goes
around,
together.
flying around, skiing, getting knee reconstructions here
Yeah,
and
2
there,
days ago.
going
No, 2 weeks
to Maxim parties, taking over and filming glorious women in costumes and out of costumes. I like that kind of shit. So how does a mysterious man of skiing and weed, and stone weed? I mean, how do you do all of this shit together? You're just a mysterious man.
This is just what we do. It's a high life, I guess. We're just cooked. I'm just personal. We're called the Cook Clan. That's our little clique.
It's
We're the
cook,
cook-
the
the
cook
cook clan.
clan.
I think tonight everyone's a bit more fried than
there's,
cooked.
there is an
Baked, not fried.
initiation.
Baked, not
There's only
fried.
2 official
baked.
members, but there's associates, but they haven't been tapped because we have a certain initiation process that I don't know I can talk about on camera, but it involves a few women, and so.
Well, that's the kind of shit we want to
anyways,
talk about. So you got a fraternity of freaky shit going on. I want to know how many goats with the furry horns you riding around with. You know what I mean? How many goats with the purple hair? Y'all growing that
I don't know
shit
what
so
y'all
y'all
do
got
in Philly,
scientists.
but-
We don't get down. I don't think so. Maybe them little Yachty. You got the music shit. Is it Yachty? You little Yachty from Philly? But they got all of that emo thing going on. Are you trying to infuse music into your freaky shit too?
No. I'm just talking shit.
No, music or definitely ties
like
in
music.
with what we do. So with a lot of the stuff we're doing, it's events, it's video content and whatnot. You need audio
Cannabis
for
is
that.
the
You need
thing that
entertainment at events.
Kind of
So
attaches
Who's
it all.
recruiting all the girls?
all of us.
All of you. So how do you go about that? How do you just walk up to a girl and say, "Hi, I'm from the Get High Clan. I'd like to have you take your clothes off for the next 24 to 50 minutes." How do you? How's it work?
Instagram. Also, a lot of the photographers and filmers that we work with have relationships with certain girls. And certain girls do smoke weed. That they're into that. a lot of girls, a lot of Instagram models.
Do you get weed in your contract or?
It depends. It
Depends
depends
who
on
it
the
is.
concept and what the project is. So we work as videographers and photographers for
Yes.
hire, or similar to a production house. So quite often people are just hiring the studio or bringing their concept to us because.
So like if
this
you go
is
to
the concept they
Mozambique or
need.
something like that, would they provide like a drum, a janitor's drum full of weed or something like that? As
pretty
part
cool.
of your contract or something
I've
like
always
that?
wanted to have a hit off the chalice. You know how the real Rastafarians smoke?
Oh,
You know,
yeah. I saw that.
a
Is that
chalice.
Tyson?
A
Tyson.
chalice. It's like they put like a pound or two of weed in it, and it's like a chillum, and then it sits in the top, and you put a big towel over your head,
Oh, I haven't seen
and
that.
you take massive hits of this like, Jamaican.
No way.
And Keith Richards talks about it in his autobiography.
That's
about
going.
how
That's going to
not-
Pluto for a
About
couple
how
of days.
he got taken into Trenchtown, and he got to they kind of ordained him and and he let him smoke like the
That's
real
fucking
Rastas
sick.
do.
I saw Tyson doing that with the Rasta, but it was a pipe.
Yeah, that's a
It was,
chillum.
was that it? It was just a really small. It was,
It's
but
called a
it,
chillum. I
it was
think.
fucking real cool, man. It looked sick. It was
Yeah.
I saw it on Instagram. It was really cool.
So you guys are as well are running around interviewing people that's in the industry, and you're calling it something the
Curators of culture.
Curators of culture.
Yeah,
Tell us a
that-
little bit about that action.
That's a web series that I produce and I host. And we've done Robbie Madison. We did Tucker from Fundamentals. We did a friend of mine who used to be Jay-Z's DJ for about 5 years. His name is DJ Neil Armstrong. And then we might be doing one with homie over here. It's a Rodcast.
For that ass.
So are you from West Philly?
I'm from
Are you-
Philadelphia.
were you
I was
born
born in North Philadelphia, raised in West. That's right. Overbrook High School, Will Smith.
Did you have an uncle from Bel Air?
No, but I did go to Cali, kind of like Will did. I went out there and got into Long Beach's culture, and that's a whole nother story. Yeah.
Long Beach was pretty hard back in the day.
It
wasn't
was in the 80s, Long Beach, California. The music was popping off there, and with a voice like this, I had to be around somewhere. You know what I mean? Talking more shit than a little bit.
Have you ever met Barry White?
I have. I actually worked.
That would
Barry,
be-
he came to Australia and hired me to introduce
get him on
him
a
at his
podcast.
concert.
Oh, dude,
He's
that's
dead.
so funny. He passed away.
So, That's not gonna fucking happen right now.
But,
you know what I
but
mean?
basically,
Should have thought of that shit a couple of years ago.
I forgot he died. Shout out
basically,
to Barry White, but
But so, yeah, but I want to talk about that. The bass, you know what I mean? There's a radio. I did a little bit of radio shit here, and that's how we kind of connected. Where I had my man Brandon.
Lowry.
I want to give him a shout out, Brandon Lowry.
Yeah,
man.
mad bitches like Brandon Lowry.
Yeah, we had a great time, man. And he was involved with the music and the surfing, a lot of shit that I never really did. But then, with this voice, I ended up working with, the Kyle Sandilands and the Jacks and all that. And then there's this comedian. So you do some comedy shit too, a little bit, don't
No,
you?
I'm just comedic.
You're sick.
I'm just
you're
a walking
you're fucking
shit show.
sick. Yeah, we'll just put it where it is.
I'm just a walking shit show.
This Husey cat, he has some show called.
What would Husey do? Is that it?
A problem? No, a problem. Yeah, what would Husey do? A problem?
one of his
Husey's problem? Oh, Husey, we have a problem.
That's it. Yeah.
Some shit, yeah, like
you going
that.
on that?
I'm going
Sorry,
on
I'm thinking
that.
of what would
Yeah.
Skeezers do.
You might have to
for
come
What
check
would
it out.
Skeezers do? I don't know.
What would
I don't-
Skeezers do?
But he wants to know how you can get a deep voice, so I'm gonna go
Like
in there
Barry
and teach him a
White.
little something.
he gets deep.
You do.
My
You gotta
dog.
go deep.
You gotta go deep.
How low?
Do you remember
go?
Do you remember the Springfield episode on The Simpsons with the snakes?
Barry White?
Barry White?
Oh yeah.
Southern snakes. And then they have the final.
Go do it
snake.
again? Do
They have
that
the
shit
final
again?
snake. The final scene.
Because he trying to
Southern
take my
snakes.
fucking jobs. He taking my jobs now. I'm glad we talking about this. I had a party called Maxim Hot 100 Halloween something, and my men's in them. Next thing I know, I had a table. And then I had to get permission to come into the fucking Ballin on the budget table. You know what I mean? I
Hey, that
like,
was
what
his
the
fault.
fuck
I was
happened
wasted.
here?
I don't
What
know
the
what
fuck
happened
happened
that
here?
night.
This guy got escorted
So
out.
and he's on the microphone. He's got all the chicks. I just love what you're doing out there, man.
Thank
and it's
you. We love
actually
you too.
a pleasure to be a
It's
part of the
pleasure.
Craze Co. and the Ballin on a budget and the whole nine. And
Well,
it's,
we love hanging out with Rodney.
it's all
You're
good
OG,
in the
dude.
hood,
Thanks, man.
man. How long have we been doing this shit, man? We've been doing this shit for like the past, 15 years?
40 minutes.
No, see, as I was trying to talk about how long And I'd like to thank Ellie and my man Ash
in the house. Aussie
Shout out to
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
It's word association. It's
Krusty
word
burgers.
association. No, the
Krusty burgers.
No, the crusty donuts.
Yeah,
No, the
that's it.
crushed donuts or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, we just having a blast, man. It's been absolutely 100% lovely for you to come on the show and talk more shit than a little bit.
So,
yo.
Can I just say one
Yeah,
more
you
thing
can say
before?
one more
before
thing.
Are we wrapping up?
No, I was just having a moment of
Okay,
fucking
sorry, I thought you-
loveliness.
Yeah, he goes into this
No,
like.
no,
I thought you were wrapping it up.
That's actually
I
man.
was having a
bad.
moment of
My bad. I
loveliness.
thought you were wrapping it up.
I was
It,
reaching-
sound, hey, it
reaching
sounded
out.
like it, you know?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It was like he was wanting to get down.
See,
Like,
oh, here we
You
are.
guys are all
You want me to
stoned. I'm
leave?
not. That's the thing. See, y'all thought I was
Nah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
It's-
sticking
I
to
was-
those Aussie laws.
sticking to the Aussie laws, man. You know, because it's
It's
happening.
Datura.
Basketball.
It's
huh?
Datura.
It's what?
It's Datura.
Datura. I don't even know what the
We're
fuck
smoking-
that is.
We're smoking Datura.
Yeah.
What is-
yeah.
It's legal.
Yeah.
See?
Incense, yeah.
I
yeah.
gotta
It's
learn more
Datura.
about this shit. Now I'm into the
Happy
hoops.
High Herb.
Datura. Yeah, right.
Datura.
I was
Listen,
like, he's got to
So you're doing all of this kind of stuff. You know that the new Phoenix team in Melbourne in the Pro League here in Australia, their owner has distribution in the United States. Al Harrington is his name.
What,
you guys
for,
know?
for cannabis?
For cannabis.
So I've recently just opened, or my friend that I've invested in, and I kind of help him. I do all the marketing. Our first recreational cannabis facility.
Where?
In California. It's,
in Cali.
In California.
Man,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Man, I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. Like I was getting like,
Spell
I'm
you.
like, where's this guy? All right, I'm picking up what you're putting down,
I know
but
he got me all excited and shit, and then he just let me down like he was wrapping it up.
It's really hard, like you can invest all your time and energy in Australia, but
oh yeah, it's gonna go nothing.
in my opinion, you go where the fish are, and there's a lot more people in California.
You know
than
what?
there is here.
I went to California in 2015, and I got legal cannabis for the first time. Medicinally. It was the medical only back then. But I remember because I went back to the
On
same
Venice
dispensary.
Beach?
Yeah, on Venice Beach.
Yeah.
Went back to the same dispensary.
I got a gammy leg.
Man, no, I got to tell you the story. So there was a dude with a massive like weed
Massive sign. Yeah.
Yep, I'm in. Walk
What-
in.
What the sign
Venice
say?
Beach,
Get
California.
weed here?
Yeah, literally. Like get your
What?
weed, forget weed legal or weed ID or something like that. So I walk in. Me, my friend of mine, we walk in. He's my boy Nate. We walk in, and you go through this process. Sit, talk to this doctor, man. He's legit about 85 years old. He goes, "Why do you need to use cannabis?" Told him, can't sleep, my back hurts, blah blah blah. You legit fill out an application. I still have the certificate at home. My application. Yeah, no, the application, the address was the Mondrian Hotel. That's where I was currently residing.
Mm-hmm.
My license lasted for I think 3 or 6 months. It was valid for, and they gave me access. Right, so I went to the dispensary, and all the buds were on display. Like literally, it was like I've actually got a photo of it, like in the movies and shit.
Yeah,
it was just
totally.
it was awesome. I went back last year, and everything was on a TV screen, and there was no bud on display anywhere. Went back to the same dispensary. It was the same.
Oh, you got to go to another
So the
dispensary.
first time, was it like a tourist attraction?
It was it was like it was like fuck, I can actually buy this shit legally. Wow, never experienced that in my life.
That's how it got explained to me by a friend that went. He reckons within an hour of being off the plane, he had his certificate, and he was
Oh, it's
basically
easy.
just being coaxed in
Yeah,
by
but
people like it was
that
a
was
tourist
before.
attraction.
That's how they sold it.
That's
But
in Venice Beach.
I was
That's like what if you know about Venice. That's what.
Oh,
Venice
yeah,
is
man,
all
And
that's
they
what-
could
that's
just
why we
give out
went
the
there.
license
But that's why I
Yeah.
went
to
there.
buy it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they'll basically
But that was
invite
before.
him in, like come in.
Invite
No,
you
no,
to
they
check
sell it
you
like
in.
it's
You
a-
look sick.
That was
you need to
before
come get a
recreational.
license.
No,
Yeah.
it's like they'll sell it like a bus tour at the Gold Coast.
Smoking cigarettes.
But the thing was, I was already sort of dabbling in it a little bit in weed. I smoked, but I wasn't like as regular. But then went to America.
When
you
in
see,
Rome,
mate. But
Romans.
when you experience how
Do
they do
Romans.
it,
to Romans.
and you're
Do
like,
Romans.
it's just a thing. It's nothing. You're like, fuck. All right, it's just a normal thing. It's like someone goes to the bar and has a drink, or the bottle shop.
Totally.
Buys
It's like
nothing, right?
Amsterdam.
Although
Yeah.
it's much healthier for you.
Yeah, exactly. But then I went back last year, and then I saw how commercial it's become, and price differences, the way that it's being sold now. It's all individually packaged, and it's very, very. I don't know, it's a little bit different. I found that there was a little bit less love, and I was going to just.
Oh, well, then, but you got to go to different dispensaries.
exactly what I was gonna say.
There's hundreds of dispensaries.
There
in
is,
California.
yeah,
You
yeah.
plant
And
your own seed and,
And
you
then,
grow it with
and then
love.
there's a lot of
Yeah,
illegal
100%.
ones too, and that's what Weed Maps just got in trouble for
Oh no shit!
listing all the illegal dispensaries.
Oh,
Because now, as I said, we opened 3 weeks ago. We've opened a recreational cannabis dispensary, and it's at the entrance to Yosemite National Park.
Oh, no way.
One of the biggest tourist attractions in the world.
So that means that the people can stop off at your joint, buy weed, and then walk amongst the trees.
Exactly.
So I did that in Colorado. Went to the Rockies.
Fuck yeah.
Oh.
And anyways,
Mate.
now...
How many people fall down? Is there a study of
Down the mountain.
about how many motherfuckers fall
I've
down?
only been open for 3 weeks, but I'm sure there's 100.
How many people get raped by bears?
Oh, see, that's the tour I don't want to go on.
so
See,
we-
I don't know. You're gonna
So
get
now
raped
you
by
getting
a
into the
bear.
story.
Fuck.
So what we were talking...
Did you hear that shit?
but
Who
let
thinks
me-
about getting raped by a bear?
Bro, you can't just say rape by a man. Hang on a second.
Cut to the next
Hang
segment.
on,
man.
I've watched The
Okay,
Revenant.
alright,
I've watched The Revenant,
Okay,
and I've watched it on
me
shrooms.
let
Hang
me
on.
tell you the story about the bear, all right? Okay. Anyways, this dude, he's tripping balls on acid, and he comes across these furries, right? And he's like, oh, he gets he's all horny, and he's trying to get in on their orgy, and they all kick him out, right? Anyways, he's tripping balls on acid, and he comes across a bear, and he thinks it's another furry, so he goes and tries to kind of
Mount the bear.
mount the bear, and he got eaten. So
Right.
that was Darwin's
So he didn't get raped.
dumbest
he
way
got-
to die of maybe
No,
like
wait a minute.
1998.
Wait
He's
a
trying to
minute.
rape the bear.
Is that shit true?
That's
They
what I
got bears
read.
in Darwin?
This is in California.
Oh, see.
It's just the Darwin Awards.
The Darwin Awards,
It
like
says-
Charles Darwin.
Anyone who gives
Evolution,
himself
like the
in a
dumbest way to
stick.
die.
Right. See, I'm so
Like-
dumb. And furries and fucking and all of that.
Yeah, I don't know the furries
nothing
thing.
about that.
Anyway,
See,
so-
that was
but
a
what-
foreign joint. That was a foreign conversation for the O.
For the
Furrying.
furries.
I was gonna say because I've watched The Revenant and the bear scene in that.
Oh, so gnarly.
How good's
So
that?
gnarly.
I didn't say no rape, but I was like, there was
Nah,
no
it's not.
red
He
rocket
didn't-
out
he
there.
Wait a minute.
He was going for the kill, bro.
So basically, now in California, back to the subject we were talking about before. Now
Right.
in California, if you sell any kind of marijuana, they have this M-track system, and now everything has to be traced. So every single piece of flower or a tincture or any product in the dispensary that we're selling has to be tracked with an M-track number
Hey, can you get arrested being around weed
in America.
in Australia?
What do you mean by that exactly?
I mean, like, if you got a pound in your briefcase over there, can we all get busted for it?
No, it's just whoever's bag it is.
So yeah, there's a little thing called common law here in Australia. So if it was sitting in the corner and there was really no way for them to prove who owned it, I think it would be hard to prosecute anyone. They possibly would try to pin it on someone or prosecute everyone. Obviously, you can get done for possession here in Australia. You wouldn't want to be carrying commercial quantities such as a pound.
Not a good idea.
But they wouldn't try to do everyone.
not
If
the
someone
smartest.
claimed ownership of it, they wouldn't be charging everybody in the room, though.
Hasn't stopped
Okay.
me.
All right. So that bag is over there. It's all right.
Yeah, you're back here.
It's not mine.
Right.
It's the
It's not
hitchhiker.
mine.
It's the hitchhiker over here that talks too much. That's whose bag it is.
So yeah, so this dispensary at the front of Yosemite,
Yeah.
mate. That's
So that's
I wanted to go to Yosemite, but it was on fire
it's
when I was there.
incredible place. But that's California, right? That's one way of how they've rolled out legalization. Then you look at a place like Amsterdam where they keep the alcohol and the marijuana separate. You can never find anywhere
That's
in
true.
Amsterdam where you can buy alcohol and marijuana. You can smoke joints at the bar, but you can't purchase cannabis from that bar. You have to go to another level, or you have to go to a different establishment.
Yeah, it's usually
Now,
we walk
so
in or go
Now,
downstairs.
now
and-
Holland per capita has the lowest youth suicide rate, the lowest youth drug use per capita, and
And weed detective doorman. That's how you smoking at the bar,
Well-
right? And then there's a guy watching
well,
you,
a
and you're
lot
on
of-
camera. You can't
lot
buy
of
a drink there.
a lot of the no, you can buy a drink. No, there's the cannabis.
You got to go downstairs in the basement.
Down in the basement, they sell the cannabis. In the bar, they just sell alcohol. But you can go down into the basement and then go purchase cannabis and then come back to the bar and smoke the
Oh yeah, you can go
smoke
roll
the
it,
cannabis.
roll it, but they don't let you put tobacco on the table, and you can roll your shit, smoke your shit, and go. You don't have to buy nothing. You can just go and buy weed, sit on the table, or you buy a drink or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
what I
best.
did. But
And you see people in suits. You see people
but we was in a spot that had alcohol too, though. We was sitting there drinking and smoking.
Amsterdam?
Yeah, Amsterdam.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm out of control.
Oh, you know what? Actually, the Bulldog.
I'm out of control.
The Bulldog has a bar.
Yeah, I know, but they serve. It's different levels. Of
That's
the
that's
bottom
right.
level.
That's
is
exactly right.
is
But you
the-
can
where the
consume it
cannabis-
together,
I
but you
was
can't
in
buy
a
it
together. You
together.
can't buy it
Yeah,
together.
that's true. Yeah.
So
I
this
was in
is
a
the Dutch
restaurant
laws,
and
right?
we just smoked and drank.
Yeah,
and
man.
Ate,
So
and
was
it
that BYO weed then?
Yeah. No, the dude had shit too.
You can purchase.
Yeah. Oh, no, we didn't purchase shit. We got it for free.
Man, I found a spot.
I
My
love
wife,
that shit.
my wife and I went to Amsterdam on our honeymoon first stop, and she went to go get her hair done, and I found a dispensary across the road, and it was just
Coffee
a real.
shop, not a
Sorry,
dispensary.
that's right, coffee shop. And it was a real chilled coffee shop.
Is it
You wouldn't even know it was one unless you fucking you knew what you're looking for right there. Man, it was, and they had the maddest shit, and you just sit there and you sit on the main strip, and you just you smoke your joint, and just watch people walk past. No one says a
Holland's
thing.
a very progressive country.
It is, man.
I have a Dutch passport. My dad is from Dutch origins.
Oh, sweet.
And Holland has a very progressive, and they've always had lax drug laws. And if you look at somewhere like Portugal's legalized all drugs.
Yeah,
on
they
personal level.
decriminalised them. Yeah.
Crime
that
went down.
right?
Crime went down 26%, or some ludicrous amount in less than a year.
Well, there's no trade anymore.
No, there's no trade, and it's not so.
Well,
There's no
still
desperation.
trade. People still have to acquire.
It's not so much
no illegal trade.
It's not so much the illegal trade, in my opinion, that is the crimes. The crime, yes, selling drugs and stuff, but the true, the crimes of necessity are when people don't have money, or they have an addiction, and
Yes.
they have
When it's
no money,
when the drugs
so they
are
have to go do
unobtainable.
something crazy in order to be able to get the money to get the
drugs,
so they
yeah.
can go back to being normal.
Yeah, I've watched
So
heaps
what's
of docos about shit like that in America.
Look at ICE, man. It's taking
Yeah.
over here.
Oh, ICE is massive here, but in America, I saw a doco where it was a couple. They were living in a house. They were sitting in the living room on the floor, a little side coffee table, a lamp, the little kit for the heroin. She'd go out and pimp herself out, and he'd go and fucking just wait around for her to come back. But he was telling his story, and he had a car accident. And the car accident put him on medication, and he was on medication for a while, and then the government stopped his medication, and he had nothing for the pain. So he had to fucking literally, he just started chasing after it. But the problem is these people are getting addicted to fentanyl, shit like that.
Opiates are horrible for you,
Mate, it's terrible.
So is ice. But if you legalize all drugs, in my opinion, if you legalized all drugs in Australia, you would have a lot less crime.
You mean as in decriminalised, not legalised, because
Fully.
So you're proposing
decriminalize everything and then legalize certain drugs.
So you're proposing a system
certain
like
drugs.
how they prescribe methadone for heroin addicts.
Yeah, 100%.
Here already.
Yeah, 100%.
I
That worked in
see
Switzerland.
that. I see that. They treat people in America with MDMA for post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Well, MDMA is a drug that was invented to get housewives horny for their man.
Wow.
Back in the 70s, and they used to give it to couples to be able to spice up their sex life.
Well, there you go.
That's where it came
Well, now
from.
they're using it for PTSD.
Yeah,
In the States, they're also using, I think,
psilocybin.
Yeah, psilocybin. They've legalized or decriminalized it in Denver, Colorado.
Yep.
It's they can prescribe mushrooms here.
And it was actually always decriminalized in Holland, and then I heard on the grapevine they made it illegal in Holland because some crazy fucking backpacker idiot got high on shrooms and jumped off a bridge or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, you gotta be.
That's like PCP though. Like that doesn't, not saying I've ever smoked PCP, but how fucked in the head do you have to be tripping on shrooms and you jump
off a bridge. What they jump on into a canal? I don't understand.
No, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know the story. I can't.
It's a bit hard to die if you jump off a bridge.
That's just what I heard.
It's all canals, right? I want to kill myself. Sorry, man. At least you can't swim. You got to go again.
It's like in Men in Tights. Robin Hood Men in Tights. Little John, and he falls.
I can't swim.
I can't swim, mate. I can't swim.
We can't pay the tolls.
I got a pump.
I can't buy no rolls.
You two are in love.
Remember the
Hey,
pump?
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
That's the fucking.
Is one of the
Snip the
greatest.
tip.
One of the greatest movies of all time, if not probably up there with one of my favorites of all time. Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks. Snip the tip.
Snip the tip.
So
we can schlick them, tip them. We'll drink them until we get for schnicket. That movie, man. The way that they fucked with Robin Hood.
So
they
good.
Fucked with Robin
Dave
Hood.
Chappelle's in it too. That was on his original role.
You got
killed it.
Man, they fucked with Robin Hood on another level. They fucked Robin Hood up. They made Robin Hood. That's the reason I like Robin Hood, because of that movie.
Remember he gets the chastity. He gets the key to the chastity belt.
Call the locksmith.
At the end of the movie, he gets the key to the chastity belt, right? And he's like, it's a scene, and he can't. It's just insinuated. And he's like in the castle, and he's like,
I might have
doesn't
to
work.
watch it again.
Call a locksmith, and then everyone in the call, and he's Robin of Locksley. So it's like there's
No, the funniest part was with the mole. And he goes, Sire, your mole has moved. And he goes, I have a mole on my face?
I remember yeah. That was,
bro, they give him a mole and they move the mole throughout the movie. It's just the way this is my son a chew. Bless you. That's my son a sneeze. I'm a chew. That's my son a sneeze. Fucking mate, it's not even they just straight off the bat, boom, it's on.
It's amazing.
Fuck, he swims to England from fucking wherever he is, man. Fucking
Morocco or some shit like that.
I gotta give that movie so much props because I'm gonna go home and watch it, man. I got it on fucking DVD.
I see. This has been an eye-opening experience. I learned some shit with y'all motherfuckers today,
man.
So, but coming back to like how the whole kind of subject that we wanted to talk about was legalizing in Australia, right? Obviously, there's the opium kind of whatever. I don't understand enough of that to truly say that, but I really think that probably is a really contributing factor.
It would be a huge factor.
So the only way, like, I know a dude who started this organization called POW, and it's called Protect Our Winters. His name's Jeremy Jones. He's a very famous pro snowboarder, big mountain snowboarder, and he's American, and it's very, very famous. And they go to Congress and the Senate, and they do marches and yada yada yada, and they all about climate change, right? Protect our winters, obviously, because they're all snow sport athletes, and they've had a big success with it. But I was watching an interview with him, and he said that the way that I got the most success with these people, with these politicians, was talking to their pocketbooks and also talking about the jobs that it's going to inject. So right now, like, they just built a place in Casino. There's another that is employing like a couple of hundred or a few hundred people. There's places popping up all over the place. I've heard about some really good kickbacks that you can get from the government up in North Queensland.
Right.
And so that kind of, obviously that's just medicinal, right? But if you can somehow, it has to be about the pocketbook, in my opinion. And if you can convince the common man that it's not going to be rioting on the streets and chaos like they thought, if they, oh my God, it's legalize marijuana, there'll be fucking chaos. Ah!
Well, that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
No, well, let's not forget Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it, right?
Totally, but that was back in the day. That there was opium dens all over the place.
Yeah, true.
The Dutch East Indian Trading Company was the biggest company in the world for a couple of hundred years, and they were basically just opium dealers.
Well,
and probably slave traders, and whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if that might have been a little bit post that. But anyways, in my opinion, the only way that we can do it is if we figure out a system. California's pretty good. Colorado is probably pretty similar. But I think the Dutch way is a little bit better.
But that's never going to happen. You can't even smoke a cigarette when there's food around. Think about that. How are they going to let you smoke weed?
It doesn't necessarily have to be at it can be a coffee shop.
Same thing, but around food or anything. Mate, the government's not going to let you smoke indoors.
But that's another thing. I don't believe government should be interfering in business like that.
100%.
The way that they've banned food in smoking areas, like, that's just crazy.
Mate, you know what? I agree. If you want to sit outside, and if you want to take your kids outside, you got to run the risk of people smoking.
But that's what you think. But the government has another thought process.
Well, that's what we're trying to talk about. That's the fucking problem.
No, but if you want to run a restaurant, you run it the way you want. If you don't want to be a customer at that
restaurant, if you're paying your taxes,
you see ashtrays on some of the tables.
But you have to convince the government to allow that.
Smoking sections.
Well, exactly. But see,
what about back in the day? You would remember that when they used to have they smoked cigarettes on the planes.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
I went on a plane with ashtrays. It was fucking crazy.
People used to have
Greek airlines.
That's different. An airline should act in more of a way that
that's a safety.
You have less opportunity and less variety of where to choose from. When it comes down to something like a restaurant, you've got multiple in the street. It should be up to the business owner. When you're talking about things like public transport or something like that, like public infrastructure, which I guess I would put airlines in a similar format, given that there's not that much competition, or it's not that easy for competition to enter the market.
Yeah.
If Richard Branson wants to hit me up, I'll come work.
Hey, but we'll wrap it up soon. But like, I think what I wanted to ask is getting multiple signatures and getting petitions going to fucking do anything, or is how is the message really going to get through to the people that need to hear it?
Everything does something.
People aren't as.
I like that.
What's that? What were you going to say?
Everything does something. So with what we were doing, I guess, with the shop in King's Cross, I think that it resonated on a bit of a different level, because it showed that we're not just the stoners sitting at home. Like, we're obviously members of the society and making proper moves. I mean, if releasing a shop in a prime business district, and then putting it on display, and the only title that we put with it was "Who Are We Hurting," which posed a very direct and question that most people can't answer.
So what do you think the next step is? Well, I mean, to how can we help build a better army to
keep doing what we're doing now?
Just continue doing
but,
stuff. So we've got
people
some stuff
need to be more outraged. Like what I was going to answer your question before, right? This is my opinion, right? People when they talked about gay marriage, people are like, and I know it's a little bit different but cannabis to me
not
is
really.
No, I agree. I don't think it's different.
I don't know. Anyway, it's human rights. Whatever. Yeah, I guess it is human rights.
100% human right.
People
Choice.
need to be more like infuriated and more like people took gay marriage like fucking. They take that extremely seriously. Like they're.
But the people,
like, it was a serious 120 million, mate. That's
those huge protests and stuff like and about climate change. Like people are outraged by that. Like we need the climate change.
We need that. We need
that climate change shit. For cannabis.
The problem is stoners are too like
exactly.
the people most affected.
Remember that Simpsons episode that they had they forgot that they did this stoner episode where they all had to vote to legalize marijuana. They all were too stoned and they forgot and they went the next day.
No, I haven't seen it. I want to watch it one. Yeah. No, but like if we can get numbers,
the people most affected by it are on their deathbed. How are they really? How are they going to go and stand up for themselves?
Okay, so if you what if you set up a platform where you can get votes, whether you call, whether you do.
But votes for what? Well, we're starting our own competition.
No, we want to see how many people think that should be legalized. That should be the angle, right? And regardless of
Channel 7 and huge platforms in Australia already do these things on a regular basis.
So that's what I'm saying.
On a marketing basis on their own Facebook pages and whatnot.
I see that, yeah.
I view them and
Rodney,
I monitor them, and quite often the public stance is
yes,
it should be legalized.
I agree.
It's already common knowledge that in Australia the majority of the voters want it. We haven't no one's been given the opportunity to vote on anything where it would actually make a difference at this point.
So we need to literally rustle enough feathers to either get them to do another plebiscite.
So we show them, we continue asking the question of who are we hurting, because at the moment no one's really been able to answer that.
Mate, I love that question.
There are some doctors who would say that there's long-term negative effects. But when you compare them to other things that are already available in commerce in Australia, such as alcohol or tobacco, then you don't really have a valid fight on your hands, because comparing the two, they've both got their pros and cons. And
yeah, they do. Look, I like to look at things and compare. Like, all right, people like Snoop Dogg, people that have been smoking for many, many, many years, repeated or daily, high amounts. All right. They're still fully functional at 50, at 60, at older.
It depends what you're doing. I mean, I wouldn't want to...
I'm not encouraging...
If you're driving a bus for public safety, I wouldn't want the bus driver to be stoned.
No.
Someone like Snoop Dogg creating music, it's perfectly fine for him to do
100%.
So I understand them putting limitations in place, but having this flat rule of everybody can't smoke, and then taking into the fact that people are dying and have poor quality of life they could be achieving a much better quality of life if it wasn't for this.
Man, they could save lives.
That's right.
They could save lives. But I was also sort of talking more like, you watch how the people consume. If they're consuming for this many years, any alcoholics that would be consuming in the equal amounts would not be.
They'll be deteriorating.
They'll be dead
a lot quicker. Yeah.
Right? Let's be honest. And the amounts, I'm looking at that from a health perspective, thinking, all right, if Snoop's sitting there all day smoking and he's still kicking, right?
Look at Willy Nelson.
Right, Willy Nelson, exactly. These guys are still kicking. Mate, it's still.
Willy.
I'm just not saying, because they're doing it means I can just smoke every day and I'm sweet. I'm just looking at it going, all right, health wise, because there's not enough research to say in 30, 40, 50 years it's going to do this.
Based on the evidence that you can assess.
Exactly, I've seen enough.
If there was the same dude pumping that much alcohol.
Yeah, do the volcano.
Exactly, but the reason why
volcano, it's not going to hurt you. It's not bad for you.
But the reason why. Right, because of the way that they've created the stigma around it. People our generations have always said no to it because of the way they've been taught. Yep. So the stigma around it has taught them that it's going to give you schizophrenia, it's going to kill you, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. And then I've started then thinking back, okay, looking ahead and laterally thinking, how is it actually impacting
Yeah, well,
lives?
no one told me how addicted to coffee I'd be when I started drinking it.
Mate, me too. I'm every day, a couple a day too,
Yeah.
and I'm black coffee, no sugar, mate.
Costs
Just
me
boom.
as much as weed.
Yeah, it's legit. Mate, yeah,
Coffee
you got
and
you got a
alcohol
double
together.
shot with almond and all that shit. Fucking, it's all over.
Yeah.
But your habits and things that you consume regularly. Pot could just be another one of those things, like a cup of coffee or a bottle of
It
water.
is.
Depends
It
how you
is.
look at it.
It already is.
But it should be a fucking choice. At
Yep.
the end of the day,
It
if
is.
you want to chop up tomatoes or chop up weed, go for it. If you're not putting it in kids' faces or killing people by doing it, go do what you want.
what you do in your own domicile, you should be allowed to do.
Mate, and I think
As long
that's
as
the
you're not
message.
but once you're outside in the public arena, you have to be responsible for your actions.
100%. That's
Okay.
100%.
So-
I could not agree more with that statement.
So that's
But
So we all
when you
agree.
compare it to substances available in the market, I mean, if alcohol wasn't a thing, or if alcohol was under prohibition in the same way,
It
we
was.
would be talking. Well, if it currently was, we would be talking a very different conversation.
Yeah.
Considering that is on the market and the government is saying that is okay, then they don't have a fight when it comes to the cannabis.
But what about prescription medication that are wiping people out like daily across the world?
Well, that comes down to more of the scientific side. So a lot of the stuff I talk about when it comes to cannabis, I talk about from a recreational standpoint.
Right.
not from a medical.
When it comes
It's
to
just
the
our
medical side of the thing,
No, but I'm
there are
talking.
people, there's doctors and very well-educated people that are taking this fight to the channels that they see fit, I guess. And yeah, they're making these comparisons and
Yeah,
they're
see-
trying to show. And the problem is that we're up against millions and millions of dollars of the big pharma industry.
Oh, that's always going to be the problem. It's sort of looking at how it deteriorates people. Like, mate, alcohol, opioids are deteriorating the insides of people over countless
Horrible.
years. It's terrible.
Horrible.
And if they really do care about people's well-being and the
Hillbilly
economy
heroin.
for the future strength, I heard the treasurer say that the 65-year-olds need to start working again because the economy is going to suffer. Mate, legalize
So they-
fucking weed, mate.
They're
The
gonna
economy will
raise
be fine.
Raise the retirement age.
The
so-
economy
They
will be fine.
he's encouraging people over 65 to work. Sorry, 65 to work. But anybody over 65 that's trying to work has either been made redundant or is working at McDonald's. No one's fucking hiring 65-year-olds, right?
Right.
That's and they're coming out saying because the economy's suffering. Well, look right in front of you. That's growing from the earth, and
Yeah.
legalize it and fucking tax it the way you tax everything
Tax
else.
the shit out of it.
Fuck, mate. People will pay.
But
Regardless, medical or not, mate, people will pay because it's another thing they can choose. But look, at the end of the day, it is what it is,
I hope they legalise. 'Cause-
mate. I hope they do too.
But you have to make it about the pocketbook, though.
Well,
so
yeah.
how we do that, I don't know. That's a question not
Yeah.
for not necessarily a smarter person, but a more financially apt person
Yeah.
than myself.
Well, you got to certainly amp to talk to some more people about how to get this JOBDONE.
Well-
Because the people out here need to have greenery available to them, and we need to have some sort of unification of peace that can get out there and get that message across.
Well, we're going to continue doing our projects. We've got something big planned for 2020.
2020.
So we're going to do something for the whole month of April next year, or multiple projects over the month. And we'll
The whole
have-
month of April is 420. So
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna
for
do.
2020. So
Give it an inch, take a
cleared our
mile.
vision
It's a
in our
holy month.
It's
2020
going to be a
vision.
busy month.
Holy month.
And yeah, we've got people who we'll bring on board to speak for the topic, and people who are educated or affected by the issue, such as Jenny Hallam, such as
I followed her for a while, man. Fuck, that was intense.
She's lovely.
I'd
love
she's
to meet her.
such a soldier,
Love to
and,
meet
and
her.
what they put her through is it's just horrible.
Right, it's
really.
terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But I think, guys, we've got to wrap it up. We've had a good.
Thanks for having us.
We've had a
Thanks
good
for
fucking
having us.
yamba, mate. It's
Good,
been
good.
awesome. We should do this again.
Yeah, we'd love to come
Yeah.
back on and talk some more shit with you guys.
Why
whenever.
not? Yeah, it was good.
We'll
All right.
follow a
No
proper
diggity,
agenda next
no
time.
No
doubt.
diggity.
Yeah.
The Rodcast Podcast for that ass, and we'll be back after these words of encouragement. Blaze that shit.
You.